Good afternoon, all. I'm Indu Jain, Assistant Professor from IIMT College of Science and Technology. Today, I'm throwing some light on the comparison between measurement, assessment, and evaluation. These three terms are very much interrelated to each other, but they are quite different from each other. In today's session, first we will discuss about these terms one by one and then about the interrelationship between them. Now we start with measurement. Now in the next slide, we can define the measurement. Measurement is a process of assigning numbers to individuals or their characteristics according to specific rules. Like measuring the temperature of the body with the help of the thermometer, height of any object with a scale or inch tape, and many other examples are there in which measurement can be done. Here we use some numerical values for any attribute which we measure. Further, we can say that measurement is a quantitative description of one's performance. For example, Rajan has scored 78 marks in a particular examination and Mohit has scored 59. Their individual scores are the measurement of their performance in a particular test. Now, there are some characteristics. You can see there are some characteristics of measurement. First of all, measurement assigns a numeral to quantify certain aspect of human and non-human beings. Yes, of course, we can measure the various aspects of human beings like the attitude of any human being, intelligence quotient of human being, of a person, of a child, and again, we can measure the non-human beings in terms of their length, height, volume, and so many others. It is numerical description, means measurement is what is measurement? Measurement is the numerical description of objects, traits, attributes, characteristics, or behavior. Means some number is given to the attributes, characteristics, behavior of any person or any non-living object. The third one is measurement is not an end in itself, but definitely a means to evaluate the abilities of a person in education and other fields as well. Next one is nature of measurement and assessment vary for various traits or attributes. It has been clear in the next slides. Now there are two types of measurements. First one is qualitative measurement and second one is quantitative measurement. We can easily compare the two types of measurement. First one is a qualitative and the second one is a quantitative. The basis of qualitative measurements are often norms, but the basis of quantitative measurements are often units. You can see that the qualitative measurement is not universal, means the behavior of any person in one case is good somewhere, but the behavior of that person is not very good or bad. We can say that it is bad in some other situation. But quantitative measurement is always universal. It is universal everywhere. It is one and same at any position, any condition, and any place in the world. Like height of a boy is 5 feet, so it is 5 feet always. We can't change that. Third one is qualitative measurement can never be done completely in itself. Yes, of course. The interest of a child we cannot measure very accurately with the help of some tools, but we can check the interest of a child in any subject, in any area, of his interest. But in quantitative measurement, it can be done fully in itself. For example, height of a child. We can measure the height of the child with the help of any scale, or with the help of inch tape, we can measure. Similarly, the next point of difference between the two is in qualitative measurement has no mathematical relationship. We can clear it by an example. Proficiency in science of a student securing 50 marks is not necessarily now. One more thing is that the qualitative measurement is subjective. That is, it doesn't have factual evidence. It is based on or influenced by personal feelings, taste, or opinions. But quantitative measurement is completely objective in nature, means it is not influenced by personal feelings or opinions in considering and representing facts. Now, I think it is clear that what is the difference between qualitative measurement and quantitative measurement. Now we come to the next point, that is assessment. What is assessment? We can define assessment as a systematic procedure for collecting information that can be used to make inferences about the characteristics of the pupil or the objects. Means it is an ongoing process. We can assess anybody during the teaching learning process. Assessment is referred as a process of collecting evidence and making judgments relating to outcome. But these judgments are during the ongoing process, during the teaching learning process. It is said that assessment has a narrower meaning than evaluation, because evaluation reaching to the judgment after the complete process is completed. But assessment is during the process when the teaching learning session is going on. So evaluation has a much broader meaning than assessment, but assessment has much broader meaning than measurement. Now there are two concepts that are assessment for learning and assessment of learning. There's a large difference between assessment for learning and assessment of learning. Learning के लिए assessment and learning का assessment. के लिए and का. There's a very big difference. If we talk about the assessment for learning is done for the purpose of measuring what the learners can and cannot do during the learning process. Means the purpose of measuring what the learner can and cannot do during the ongoing learning process, during the ongoing teaching learning process. Assessment of learning is typically using examination to test what students know and are able to do after the completion of the teaching learning process. Again, the assessment for learning focuses on ongoing assessment, but assessment of learning focuses on evaluation. Means assessment for learning deals with the process, means the ongoing teaching learning process, but assessment of learning deals with the products which is obtained after the teaching learning process. Next, the assessment for learning can use more informal methods of assessment, which can include observation, performance, as well as quizzes and written assignments throughout the learning process. As I have already told that the assessment for learning is the assessment during the teaching learning process. So during the lecture, we can ask certain questions, give certain assignments to assess the ongoing performance of the learners or students. In assessment of learning, formal testing, teachers report on what students have learned at the end of a unit or course. Means assessment of learning is done after the teaching learning process is completed. Next, point of difference is that assessment for learning is formative. Formative means complete all the time during the teaching learning process. We can check the performance of the student in the ongoing processes or activities of teaching and learning, and can determine students' prior strengths or learning gaps. If there is any gap or any drawback in the performance of the students, then teacher can check that gap, or he can solve the problem of the student during the process. But assessment of learning is summative, and it is what teachers are most familiar with. Summative means at the end of the whole program, teachers take certain tests or practical work so that he can measure or assess the student's performance after the program. Next, assessment for learning. In assessment for learning, the teachers take a coaching role. Coaching role, or we can say that it is guiding role, giving students detailed feedback to tell them how they can do better. But in assessment of learning, teachers' role in evaluation is to assign grades, to report to students and their parents how they did. Means it is in the past performance check of the students. Next, assessment for learning. The purpose of the assessment for learning are to help teachers determine how students' learning is developing, to identify what's working and where problems are. What means what activities are good for students and what activities cause some problem for the students. So their learning is hindered during the process. Teacher can easily check during the process. The purpose is to make decisions about next steps in learning. The assessment of learning is to make decisions. Means when the teaching learning process is completed, or one program is completed, then the teacher takes certain decisions about the next step, what he or she can change in teaching learning process so that more better learning, teaching learning can done in the next step. Assessment for learning is the process which assesses the effectiveness of instruction and helps teachers determine how instructions has to change to help struggling students. But assessment of learning measures the learner abilities to meet outcomes after learning. So now it is quite clear that assessment for learning is the ongoing process and much helpful for the teacher to change his or her strategy during the teaching learning process, so that the behavior of the students, that is the terminal behavior of the students, can be changed effectively. But assessment of learning is done after the complete program is over, and to check the performance of the student or the behavior of the terminal behavior of the students after the program. Next, there are certain components of assessment. For example, the assessment as system has certain components of variable which help us to decide as to what kind of assessment strategy as teacher we can use. Harlan has suggested following components of variables of assessment as a system. First one is purpose. What is the purpose of assessment? And how can we select the criteria for fulfilling the purpose? That is the formative and summative. As we have already discussed, formative means during the teaching learning process, and summative means after the program is over. Use. It helps the learning process. It informs to teachers, parents, and students about their performance. Tracking students' progress. Check the student progress during the teaching learning process. Assessment is very helpful for that, or very useful for that. What type of task can be done during the assessment process? Regular work can be given to the students. Regular test or task developed by the teacher can be provided to the students. Test or task prescribed externally, like the board exam, which are external in nature. We can assess our students with the help of external examinations. Tasks embedded in teaching learning, different tasks like different projects, different practical work, co-curricular activities, all are involved in this. Next, the agent of judgment. Who is the agent of judgment during the assessment process? It can be a teacher and students together, or some external agent. What is the basis of judgment? On what basis we can judge or assess the students or teachers? First one is the norms, task specific criteria, general criteria, and the student referenced. All are the basis of judgment. On that basis, we can judge or assess the performance of the students. Form of report or feedback means assessment can be represented in the form of report or some feedback. For this, marks or scores are given to the students. Their profile can be made. Overall level or grade or mark or rank is given to the student. Comment or oral feedback is also provided to the student during the assessment process. Now we can moderate the assessment within class or a student. This is internal. Within class or school, this is internal. Inter-school moderation process. We can compare the different schools to check the progress of our student and the progress of other school students. Next, the external inspection. Time to time, certain inspections can be done by different agencies. Informal or teacher-centered. Informal or teacher-centered means assessment of the teacher or observation of the teacher of the activities of the students can be done from time to time, and he or she can check, means teacher can check his performance, the performance of the student, or definitely his performance also, his or her performance also. So these are the components of assessment. Next, we come to our third point, that is evaluation. Evaluation is a very broad concept. Evaluation is a systematic process of collecting and analyzing data in order to determine whether and to what degree objectives have been or are being achieved. This definition is given by Gay in 1991. It leads to, means evaluation leads to decision making. Means evaluation mainly concerned with the decisions, that how well our program is. As a teacher, you should understand the purpose of evaluation is to make a judgment about the quality or worth of something. This definition is given by Abel and Frisbee in 1991. As a teacher, we should understand the purpose of evaluation, what judgment is being made, or what decision is to be taken. We should know very clearly as a teacher. Further, there are some characteristics of a good evaluation. First one is validity. When we evaluate, we form certain tests, certain quizzes, certain items. Items means the questions by which we can check the performance of the students. So what is a valid test? Validity is the quality of the test. If a test measures the qualities or abilities for which it was constructed, then such a test is called valid. So it is quite clear that test which is to be made is related to the topic or the point which can be evaluated by that. Then this test is valid, and this property is, this quality is validity. Next, come to the next characteristics of a good evaluation, that is reliability. Reliability deals with the consistency. The reliability of a test refers to the consistency of scores obtained by some individuals on different occasions or at different times. For example, if we administered a standardized intelligence test on a group of students today and again after 10 to 20 days on the same group and get the same scores both times, then such a test will be reliable. Means test should be consistent in both the test today or after 10 to 20 days. It should not be different. Third one is practicability. The test item should be framed in order to fulfill the purpose of evaluation and also can be easily administered on the target group. Means it should be practically possible to administer the test with ease. Next one is fairness. The test should be fair enough. Means double meaning or ambiguous test items or confusing test items should not be there. The next one is, and the last one is, and the most important one is the usefulness. The test should be useful. Of course, the evaluation should be useful, or we can say that if it fulfills the purpose of evaluation, that is to check the goals of the program framed during planning are achieved or not. If it fulfills the given criteria, then it is useful. Otherwise, it is useless. Now, there are some purposes of evaluation. According to Organi in 1984, educational evaluation is carried out from time to time for the following purposes. The first one is to determine the relative effectiveness of the program in terms of students' behavior output. Means the effectiveness of the program can be judged by the students' behavior, and behavior is that behavior which is after the program, that is the terminal behavior. Next one is evaluation is to make reliable decisions about educational planning. Means evaluation can frame certain decisions about the planning of the education, so that we can, if there is some weaknesses or drawbacks in the educational planning, then we can check that planning in the next session. To ascertain the worth of time, energy, and resources invested in a program. These three things again are very important: the time, the energy, and the resources. Again, next one is evaluation is to identify students' growth or lack of growth in acquiring desirable knowledge, skills, attitudes, and societal values. It is the foremost point that there is this is very important to check the growth of the students or the learners, and it is time related also. Next one is evaluation is to help teachers to determine the effectiveness of their teaching techniques and learning materials. It is very important because there are lots of strategies teacher can make during the teaching learning process, and various materials, teaching learning aids, audiovisual aids can be used to make the effective teaching learning process. So it is very important to check the effectiveness of the techniques used by the teachers and the materials used by the teachers, so that he or she can again improve their teaching learning materials or teaching learning materials. Next one is evaluation is to help to motivate students to learn more as they discover their progress. By knowing their progress, the students can motivate and improve their learning, and also by the lack of progress in given tasks. If there is some drawbacks in their learning process, then they can improve, or they can motivate to improve their learning, and they can now do better before that. Next, to encourage students to develop a sense of discipline and systematic study habit. It is again very important to encourage students. Actually, the basic aim of education is to create interest in students by encouraging them, by motivate them. So evaluation do this very successfully. Evaluation encourage students to develop a sense of discipline and systematic study habits. When the students check their progress or lacking, then they can systematize their study habits. If there is lacking, then they can increase their study hours, or if they are doing good, then they can also motivate to increase their learning hours, or in the better way. Next, the evaluation is to provide educational administrators with adequate information about teachers' effectiveness and school need. It is also very useful for the administrators of an institution. So they can provide the information about the effectiveness of their teachers and the progress of their students, and if there is any lacking, then they can improve the facilities in the school according to the need. Next one is evaluation is to acquaint parents or guardians with their children's performance. Nowadays, education deals with the all-round development of the children, and it is very important to involve parents or guardian in the learning of the students. So it is very important to acquaint parents by the performance of their children. Next one is to identify problems that might hinder or prevent the achievement of set of goals. As I have already told that there are certain problems which can hinder or prevent the achievement achievement of the goals which are set by the teachers during the planning process. So when we evaluate the achievements or drawbacks, then we can say that we can improve the or we can delete the problems related to the achievement of the set of goals, which can cause problems to get the achievement of set of goals. Next, evaluation predict the general trend in the development of the teaching learning process. It is again all the things that we already discussed comes under this. The teaching learning process, the aids we use, teacher use, students activities, the involvement of the students activities in the learning activities of the teaching learning process. Next one is to ensure an economic and efficient management of scarce resources. If there is any lacking of resources, then we can ensure that the economical and efficient management by the use of waste materials. We can prepare a lots of audiovisual aids. If there is any scarcity of resources, then we can accordingly change our strategy to make our teaching learning effective. Next one is evaluation is to provide an objective basis for determining the promotion of students from one class to another, as well as the award of certificate. It is quite clear that the evaluation helps in the promotion of students from one class to another. If he crosses the certain norms, then he can shift it to another class. Otherwise, he or she can be provided with one more chance to improve his learning. Next, evaluation is to provide a just basis for determining at what level of education the possessor of certificate should enter a career. Means it is related to the vocational education. The certificate provided to the student or a candidate should enter a career. It is the main aim of vocational education. Now it is quite clear what is the purpose of evaluation, what is assessment, what is measurement, and what is evaluation. Now it is quite clear. Next, now we can go to the relationship among measurement, assessment, and evaluation. As you have seen in the slide, in the diagram, that evaluation, the measurement comes under the assessment, and assessment and measurement comes under the evaluation. So we can say that evaluation is a very broad concept and measurement is a very narrow concept. Assessment is in between the two. So to get complete evaluation or performance or decision about the goals, how much they are achieved, can be done with the help of measurement and assessment. So they are interrelated to each other. While going through the discussion about measurement, assessment, and evaluation in previous section, you must have realized that all the three are associated with each other. Evaluation may be considered as an umbrella which includes measurement and assessment. Now it is quite clear that assessment and measurement comes under evaluation, or we can say that for evaluation we have to assess and we have to provide some number, some numerals to the given attributes or characters or any object. Now again we will also clear the relationship among measurement, assessment, and evaluation with the help of some example. The relationship between the three can be further explained as measurement focuses mainly on quantifying the variable, assessment bring in qualitative descriptions, and when value judgment is added to this, it becomes evaluation. Means evaluation involve all the three: the quantifying, the variable, the assessment, and the value judgment or the decisions. For example, now it can be clear with the help of an example. Ramesh has scored 65 marks in mathematics in the final year examinations, which is above average performance, but he has not performed well on test items related to trigonometry. Means there is some lacking in the topic of trigonometry. Ramesh has improved significantly with compared to his half-yearly examination. Ramesh has scored 65 marks, and these marks are better than his half-yearly marks. So, in this statement, the 65 marks is measurement indicator. Like above average performance, identification of area of improvement comes under assessment, means above average performance, and the area of improvement comes under assessment. What is the area of improvement for Ramesh? This is the trigonometry portion. And judgment of his performance. In which relation? In relation to the half-yearly examination is evaluation. How can we reach this judgment or this decision that he performed well in relation to the half-yearly examination is by seeing his marks in that is 65 marks, and we can say that 65 marks is above average performance. Maybe his marks are less than this 65 marks in the half-yearly examination. So we can decide we can judge his performance by seeing his marks, that is the measurement, and by assessing his performance, that is the above average performance. So this is the whole about the relationship among measurement, assessment, and evaluation. Next one is the comparison chart between the measurement and evaluation. As we have already told that measurement is a narrower term and evaluation is a very broad term. First of all, we see the meaning of measurement and evaluation. We can summarize this. Measurement refers to the process of delegating a numerical index to the object in a meaningful and consistent manner. But evaluation is when the comparison is being made between the score of a learner with the score of other learners, and just the result means giving rank to him or her, or giving rank to the student, and check the position or rank of the student in comparison to the other student. The next one is observations. Measurement comprises the observation which can be expressed numerically, but evaluation comprises of both quantitative and qualitative observation. As we have already discussed, it can be assessed, it can be measured, then we finally reach to the decision about something. Next one is the involvement. Measurement involves assignment of numerals according to certain rules, but evaluation involves the assignment of grades, label, or symbol according to established standards. Further, measurement concerned with one or more attributes or feature of a person or object, but evaluation concerned with the physical, psychological, and behavior aspect of a person. Now, the measurement gives the answer of the question, how much? But evaluation gives the answers to the question of how good or how well. Means the final achievement of the performer. Next, it does not convey any logical, means measurement does not convey any logical assumption about the student, but in evaluation, logical assumptions can be made about the student. Means we finally reach to the point that the student is doing good or not with the help of the evaluation process. Measurement requires less time and energy. Yes, of course. We have just given a test on a single day and we get the measurement of his scores. But evaluation is a continuous process. It is going throughout the process, so it requires more time and energy. The scope of measurement, as I already told you, that the scope of measurement is very limited, but scope of evaluation is very wide. Measurement is content oriented, how much the student get the content, but evaluation is objective oriented, means that our objective is fulfilled or not, it can be decided by the evaluation process. In the next slide, we can summarize the relationship among measurement, assessment, and evaluation. What is it? You can see on the 3-1, the measurement, assessment, and evaluation. Measurement deals with just collection of the numerical data, but assessment deals with the collecting of data and also assesses the situation or check if there is any drawback or any strength of the ongoing process. Evaluation is using data collected from assessment and the measurement both. Measurement can be seen with the help of percentage or with some standard, whether it is average, good, dull, like that. But assessment is a constant process. It is an ongoing process during the teaching learning process or during the program. We can assess, so it is a constant process. Evaluation is very helpful in reforming the process of teaching learning or can change any program if there is some lacking, or it can also helpful in improving the program later on. The goal of measurement is that the result should be valid and reliable, and assessment deals with the formative and summative assessment, and it ends with evaluation. Means after the assessment, we can easily evaluate the given process, or we can evaluate our objectives are achieved or not. Evaluation connects between educational goals and goals achieved. The main purpose of evaluation is to frame the education goal, the set goals, and to check whether these goals are achieved or not. Now, it is quite clear what is the relationship between measurement, assessment, and evaluation. They three are interrelated, but there is some difference between them. Thank you.